And no surprise, we usually begin lying on our back. So lie on your back. And your process of sensing and feeling your contact with the floor. What's it like right now? And I've been clarifying throughout lessons for a while that there is a relationship it's really nice to turn our attention to. The awareness of this pelvis of mine, it's often referred to as a pelvic bowl. My rib basket, some people call it a cage, but I like the basket idea. And my head. All three are cylindrical, spheres, balls, if you will. The chest has an opening at the top and the bottom, but it still has that spherical relationship. Our pelvis too has openings at the top and the bottom. Our skull, at the bottom there's an opening, because that's what enables our brain stem, to travel down the central vertebral column. A vertebral column, that's the central nervous system, and then from that, all the little peripheral nerves that come out from the sides of the vertebra that innervate our limbs. And often, we don't pay attention to these three spheres interconnected by our spine. This is the apparatus that keeps us alive, functioning. The limbs are wonderful, but they are, in certain realms, well, they make life easier, they fine-tune, but they do not make you stay alive. You can live without them if need be. So let's pay attention, turn our awareness to the relationship of these three spheres and how they relate to each other. And that changes depending on our orientation in space, which means our relationship to gravity. So feel the contact. Where do you go first? Is the greatest weight in your pelvis? If your legs are long, notice, is there a subtle tilt in your pelvis? And what that tilt represents in the contact in your lower back. Maybe it even starts, well, the lower back is housed in the pelvic bowl. L5 for everybody is housed within that pelvic bowl. So what is the disposition of your lower back when your legs are long? And then travel up. Do you follow the line of your spine into your rib basket? What is the contact you're making here? And are there subtle biases you discern? Is there a little bit more weight to this side of the spine on the ribs or shoulder blade compared to that side? You don't have to know the answer. You just get curious. Let's see how it plays out. And then, interconnected these three spheres by our spine, follow the line of your spine all the way up. It gets sort of tucked underneath our skull. And listen to how the back of your head rests on the floor. What is the disposition of the back of your head? Do you sense your chin is closer to your chest, more towards the ceiling, or rocked further away up? And what does the front of your throat with the back of your neck feel like, one in relationship to the other? Now slowly, so that you listen to the process, how it's playing out. Go as slow as you can, because there's something that's going to happen in these spheres. Not just one, maybe all. Slowly transition your feet into a standing position. So listen to how you do it. You making a choice. Which leg you started with, the trajectory of that knee, the foot, and the other. And did you sense my 3 spheres moved? Or was something being held or constrained so as not to move? What is the relationship your 3 spheres have with each other? They're all of the same family. You're the family. All of your parts, portions make up you. So I like to create images and stories that we really connect. It's me, not this thing I called a leg or a rib. My leg, my rib. Did your spheres move one in relationship to the other? Or did you discern, no, I didn't pay attention, or I don't think some of them really moved. Were they pushed? Were they pulled? Slowly, a very familiar movement. Use your feet gently as the initiator, but allow that to move your pelvis in that up, down movement. Often we can refer to it as 12 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and listen to the relationship through your 3 spheres. And here's a question. Did your head, the top of the sphere, and your pelvis, the bottom sphere, move in the same direction? And did they move in the same direction when you reversed the tilting of your pelvis through what you did through your feet? What did the chest do in relationship to the pelvis and the head? Did it do the exact same thing, or does it feel like maybe it did something different? Or maybe, I don't know, maybe it did the same thing. What did it do? So I think you'll begin to discern if I now say you can keep your feet standing or you can lengthen your legs, but make a movement that we call an oscillation so that you're not really going to tilt the pelvis up or down with your feet. The feet can activate whether they're standing or you're resting on the back of your heels. But now make that oscillatory movement that goes up and down through you. What did your 3 spheres do? Did they do the same thing here? Sliding up, sliding down? What's different from when you compared feet standing and tilting your pelvis up and down? I still want the feet engaged gently. And you can also, with your feet long, do that same movement, gently let your heels inform you if you want to go from the oscillating movement to that tilting of the pelvis up or the tilting of the pelvis down. What's different in your 3 spheres? Sometimes it's not so clear for some. It's okay. Just leave a curiosity. There is something different from the oscillatory pattern compared to that movement we call the tilting of the pelvis to 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. You just get curious. What's different? Good. And then rest. Now this time, because I gave you a brief rest, if I keep too long a rest, we lose the thread. We stop connecting dots. So return your feet to stand. And now this way, sometimes the initiation of the movement isn't as much in the feet, although they respond. It might be in the knees. If I said, begin to tilt your knees that tilt your pelvis from one side, back through the middle, to the other. Just make it pleasant so that you don't have to turn your attention to something of caution or warning, but the relationship of my 3 spheres, what's happening here? What's happening here? And is it a simultaneous relationship or a sequential relationship of movement? And you know we have that saying, it depends. So what do you notice the first pattern that starts to play out for you? What are your spheres doing? That's it. And you could do multiple things. Do you do them intentionally? Or is it just, no, I don't know what I'm doing? And then pause and rest a moment. Return your feet to stand. Now you can do that tilting of your pelvis from side to side another way. So what's the other way you could do it? Where your knees don't tilt. Now it is a foot that initiates and activates. What would you do? Does one foot depress in such a way that it shifts your weight to the other buttocks or hip? But the knees are still relatively in the vertical. And then, as that foot releases its depression into the floor, you use the other foot. The knees aren't tilting from side to side. It's the foot that is powering the pelvis to tilt. But maybe you're choosing not to explore that pattern. You prefer the tilting of the knees. Could you do either or? What's the difference? What's the difference if the knees don't tilt, but the feet power the movement of shifting the weight in your pelvis from side to side, compared to when you are tilting the knees? Do the knees have to tilt when you depress through the feet to shift the weight in the pelvis? Are you aware they are or aren't? And what's the difference? Is there a different relationship in the three spheres of your pelvis, your chest, and your head? Now, very slowly, tilt your knees to one side and allow your head to roll in the opposite direction. What's different in the three spheres, their relationship? And is the head moving in the same amount, speed, range as the knees? Or does one go faster and the other one tries to play catch up? And do that from side to side to compare not only the tilting of the knees, the head rolling in the opposite direction, but the return to neutral and then the reverse. Is there a twist happening through your spine? Is there something in your shoulder blades that is awakening? Which eye, when you roll your head to the opposite side the knees are tilting, becomes more aware, active? Is it the floor side eye or is it the top side eye? And then let that all go and rest. Notice your contact, notice your breathing. Notice your length on the floor. Now this time, keep your legs long and bring your arms forward towards the ceiling. I'm going to give a couple of different variations here, but this variation is make triangled arms, which means bring your hands together so that the pads of your fingers, if not the palms of your hands, are touching. And you do that comfortably and your elbows straight. Now slowly reach with your arms in this triangled position, meaning your chest back and front is the base of the triangle. Each arm is one of the isosceles sides, and the fingers touching are the apex of the triangle. Very slowly reach your arms towards the ceiling, which means you're lifting your shoulder blades away from the floor. What happened to your head? What happened to your chest? What happened in your pelvis? Your legs are long. How did you breathe? Now, the next time you go to lift, only lift, keeping the hands glued together, only lift the right shoulder blade. In fact, maybe the left shoulder blade depresses a little bit more into the floor. And where did your triangled arms go? What happened in your chest, your head, and your pelvis? Because it's constrained with the legs long. How do you breathe? Maybe you could open your eyes and you could begin to pay attention with your right eye to your fingers as you lift the right shoulder blade. And then you come back. And then you do the comparison to lift only the left shoulder blade. Maybe the right shoulder blade is leaning, depressing more into the floor. And could you let your left eye watch your hands? What does this have to do with your spheres, your head, your rib basket, your pelvis, constrained with legs long? Then begin to alternate this pattern so that your triangled arms could begin to go a little to one side and then to the other. Feel down your spine because of the constraint in your pelvis. Do you even feel something responsive in your legs? What's happening? Does your pelvis shift weight or does it feel stuck? And if it does shift weight, to which side? Is it shifting weight to the side your triangled arms are going, or is it shifting weight to the other buttocks? Good. Bring your triangled arms down. Ah, yes. When your arms come down and you've given up the triangle, did your chest open a little bit more? Or is there a fuller breath that just naturally came in? Now, sometimes this triangled arms is very difficult for people, so I'm going to give you another option. It has a similar effect, but it is different. Please bring your arms forward towards the ceiling, bend your elbows, have one hand, the palm of the hand, hold the tip of your elbow, and then take the other hand, the one that you didn't choose, and hold the opposite elbow. I call this rectangled arms. Now, very slowly, lift both shoulder blades, bringing your forearms, still holding your elbows, towards the ceiling. That's it. Similar relationship. Did the chest still soften? Your sternum still sink back and down? What happened to your head? How did you breathe? Then begin to lift just one shoulder blade, the other one depresses. Then you can reverse it to the other side. Is your chest still softening? Is it a similar relationship? And could one eye watch one elbow? Maybe the right eye looks towards the left elbow, and the left eye looks towards the right elbow. Is that replicating a similar pattern? And feel what happens not only in your head, because I just clarified something, your rib basket. What about your pelvis? Does it not move? It's detached. Don't live there. Do you feel the weight in your pelvis shifts? Does it shift to the same side your rectangled arms are going, which as they go a little further to the side, we've changed their name because it's physics. They are called parallelograms. Is it the same pattern playing out in your pelvis, whether you had triangled arms or rectangled arms? And is your chest still softening and your back getting wider? And the shoulder blades spread further from the spine, whether it was triangled arms or rectangular arms? Good. Bring that down and just rest. Now, Roll onto your preferred side. When you get there, you're not going to use your bottom arm as an armrest, a headrest. So if you feel, I want head, neck, spine alignment, go gather some head support, just enough that your head is more or less aligned with the line of your spine down into your pelvis. And bend your hips and knees ballpark 90 degrees and rest here. Now, very slowly, in the beginning, you just rest your arms. Notice what you do. You have, I call it the hand sandwich, both arms together. Oh, is that the triangled arm? Or are you having your top hand in a push-up position, either on the floor or on the bottom arm, long in front of you? Or are the elbows bent? What do you do? I want to bring awareness to what do we do naturally, because it's part of our pattern, it feels nice. Our patterns are our history. They're not wrong. But we want to turn attention to what do we do? Now, very slowly, here is a constraint. You are going to keep your knees together. You're going to keep the bottom leg quiet, leaning restfully into the floor. The top leg wants to stay together. So if you notice, you begin to lift or separate the top leg from the bottom leg, please, in your awareness, in the sense of contact, of ease, let that be a constraint that you go, nope, I don't have to do anything more if I discern either of my knees are de-weighting from one or the floor. Very slowly, keeping your arms where they are, keeping your legs as they are, begin slowly to roll your head in the direction of the ceiling as if you wanted to look over the top shoulder. Exhale as you roll your head. Are your eyes guiding you? Or from all of those teleceptor lessons we played with, are you thinking of your hearing? I hear something over there that's guiding my head to roll. Oh, or my nose, I smell something that draws my attention. Or something that you, salivating and licking your lips because, wow, I smell something. I smell it as well as I'm starting to taste it. What's happening in the rib basket on the floor as you roll your head in the opposite direction of the orientation you are lying. Now, bring your head back to the neutral, and slowly, keeping your head looking forward, begin to take the top shoulder blade, but the arm is quiet, back. It's called retracting or rolling the top shoulder back. It does something in the shoulder blade, but you keep your eyes forward. That's it. You might feel something in your collarbone. You might feel something in your chest. And continue that movement, but now take your head and eyes not only just constrained looking forward, but rolling in the opposite direction towards the floor of the top shoulder that you are taking back behind you. Just notice how you organize the top arm. You've created a bigger differentiation. There's a twist going on, isn't there? Then take your head, eyes to follow the top shoulder going back. What changed? And the only thing you are paying attention to is your knees are quiet. Maybe the pelvis rolls. Maybe the top knee glides a little bit on the bottom, but it doesn't lift away. And go back and compare these three ways. You're taking the top shoulder a little back, but you keep the head, eyes forward, like you're focused on something forward. Or you just tuned out. Then you compare, I'm going to take my head and eyes in a more differentiated experience, away from the shoulder that's rolling back. It's different. Does one constrain the other a little bit? And then do that pattern that possibly for most, feels a lot more congruent. Take your head and eyes to follow, looking over the shoulder that's going back. And you go as far as you would like, enjoyably, as long as you keep your legs quiet. Notice the top knee starts to lift away from the bottom. Don't go so far. Now, in this theme, whether you want to keep the top arm straight or you want to bend it, keeping the knees together, begin to take the top arm away from the bottom, into the air, through the air, and over to the opposite side as long as the knees don't come apart. Just go where you can, and then you come back. Make sure the bottom leg isn't popping away from the floor and the top knee isn't popping away from the bottom knee. You find whether you want a straight arm, whether you have a bent elbow and you're using it like a wing. Good. Now the next time you take your arm, whether it's a long arm or it's the elbow, towards the ceiling and back, go shy of the limit. You still keep the knees quiet and stay there. Now begin to describe a circle, whether it's the long arm with the hand or the elbow. Describe a circle in the plane where your arm, your elbow, your hand is organized. It can be a small circle. It can be a big circle. Did any of you turn your head in that direction or keep your head just straight forward or roll your head more in a differentiated pattern towards the floor? I didn't tell you what to do. I'm simply asking what happened for you. It's not wrong, because you can compare those three movements of your head, not moving it away from that circling arm, moving it towards to see, to experience for yourself what's different and what's happened in your three spheres of your head, your rib basket, and your pelvic bowl. Now reverse the circling of your arm, elbow, hand. That's it. And hopefully you allowed more of you to participate. Then let that go. Bring the arm back, rest on your side. And then once more, lift that top arm, elbow, whatever it is, the variation you're using, and begin to bring that arm towards the ceiling and back behind you, keeping the knees together, friendly, gently. And notice if you got a little bit more range than you had before. What were your three spheres doing? I gave you a constraint in the knees, so if you keep the constraint in the knees, what happened through your three spheres? And then use this movement of taking the arm towards the ceiling and back, allow everything else to follow, and then give up the constraint of your knees and roll to your back and rest. Notice your contact. And the connection through your three spheres with your spine. Is there a difference on one side compared to the other? The answer is, for most, it depends. So listen to your experience, because that's what's most important. And for those of you that teach or will teach, honor the individual. One of the basic theories of Feldenkrais is we don't confront, compromise, or judge, or direct that what anybody is doing is incorrect. It's notice what they're doing and then help them find other options. Roll back to the same side because it was your preferred side. Now, remember that position you did on your back we called rectangled arms? Can you replicate the rectangled arms here lying on your side? Good. Now, the top hand that is holding the bottom elbow, very slowly as you exhale, begin to gently pull the top hand on the bottom elbow to pull it, beginning to move from rectangled arms to parallelogram arms. You're moving the arms more in the direction of the ceiling. You pull the bottom elbow with the top hand, and you start to roll, but you keep the top knee resting quietly on the bottom knee. That's it. Oh, it's another twist, isn't it? And notice what you want your head and eyes to do. That's it. Good. Now, when you came back, did you use the bottom hand on the top elbow to roll you back? So what if you did that? The top hand holds the bottom elbow to roll your upper torso towards the ceiling, where it's simple and you can keep the constraint of your legs. And then you use the bottom hand holding the top elbow to roll you back, so that both are engaged in the movement. Listen to those 3 spheres. Good. And use this to roll to your back and rest. And notice when you give up the constraint in your pelvis and the legs, and then you just rest. That's beautiful. Listen to your breathing, contact, 3 spheres. Are they becoming more connected in your self-image, in the mapping in your brain? Once more, roll back to the same side. Bring your arms together like triangled arms, which means we're making the hand sandwich. The top arm is resting on the bottom hand sandwich. Is it a cheese sandwich, a bologna sandwich? What kind of sandwich do you make? And then very slowly, keeping the hands constrained, begin to lift the top bent knee towards the ceiling. The bottom leg has to stay quiet on the floor. The arms stay together. Did you choose to lift the entire leg, bent as it is, to direct it towards the ceiling? Or are you thinking, no, I'm going to only lift the knee and pivot the top foot on the bottom foot? Well, do the one you first chose. Why did you choose it? Does it feel easier? And then see if you can find the other way of doing it. And if you feel that the leg feels so heavy to lift like this, what if you just thought to bring the knee, the top knee, a little closer to me before I let that whole bent leg go in the direction of the ceiling? Does that make the leg lighter to lift? That's it. And as long as you keep your hands together and the arms together on the floor, well, the bottom arm on the floor, and the top hand is making contact, hand sandwich with the bottom hand, what do you want to do with your head? You could turn your head and eyes towards the floor, a bigger differentiation, a bigger twist. You could allow your head and eyes just to look forward. And as long as you keep your arms, this is the constraint now, you could take your head and eyes towards the ceiling as if you were looking over that top shoulder as you bring the knee, the leg, towards the ceiling. That's it. Now, once, you're going to alternate. Once, you're going to lift the long top arm into the air with the greatest of ease towards the ceiling and back behind you where it feels available while you keep your knees together. And then you come back. Oh, did the bottom knee rock away from the floor, but you kept the knees together? Or did the top knee separate from the bottom because you wanted to go further? As long as you know you did it, it's okay. But the minute we give up the constraint, we are no longer really creating that lengthening twist. So it's a choice if you say, I've got to go further. Or did you learn anything before about describing that circle in less than your maximum range of the arm? Did that give you another degree or two of range, even if it doesn't touch the floor? But if you so desire to get that arm to the floor, then at least keep the bottom knee quiet on the floor. It's your base of support. Then you can allow the top knee to lift a little bit. As long as you know what you're doing, it's fine. Then the next time you come back, keep your triangled arms together on the floor and do that movement of lifting the top leg. And if you are using the variation of only the knee and not the full bent leg, okay, that's it. Find how you can. Maybe you just draw the knee closer to your tummy, which does that allow your back to round a little bit more? But you keep the bottom leg on the floor and you keep your arms together. They glide a little bit, don't they? But you're still creating constraint. That's it. And alternate. Once it's the arm that twists the upper torso, then it comes back, then it's the top leg bent that twists the bottom torso in relationship to the top. Go back and forth, feeling this. And then if I said, give up, oh, wonderful, beautiful, just keep playing because this is lovely what's happening. And then when you're ready, just give it all up, roll to your back and rest. Notice your contact. Is there a difference one side to the other? Maybe the difference is everything feels more symmetrical. Maybe it's no, it doesn't. It feels not symmetrical because one side feels this and the other one, Bring your feet to stand. Now you have a choice. You can make triangled arms or you can make rectangled arms. If there's a preference, start with a preference because I gave you a choice of which side and you chose a preference. So find your preference. Slowly. Keep the pelvis, the feet, knees quiet. They're in the center. And begin to alternate either your rectangled arms or your triangled arms from one side back to the middle to the other. Go like that. Keep the elbows straight so the hands are glued together unless you're doing rectangled arms. And then it is one hand that draws the elbow to roll to that side. Pay attention to what's happening to the shoulder blades. One is rolling forward, lifting. The other one is leaning into the floor. But the space between your side, the back of you, is it getting rounder and longer? The front of you, is it getting more concave? Now begin to take your knees in the opposite direction your arms are going, whether they are triangled arms or rectangled arms. So if you take the arms to the right, the knees are tilting to the left. They both come back to the center at the same time, and then you reverse it. You take the arms, if they were to the right, now you take the arms to the left and the knees to the right. There's the twist. One was the first differentiated pattern. Now we're really encouraging the differentiation. And many of you know the theme of this lesson is called balancing flexors and extensors. It's just a different variation on a theme. Yep. That's it. Good. And then let it rest. Yeah. What did you do with your head? Did your head follow the upper torso arms? Or did your head follow the lower torso knees? What did you notice you did? Now, place your arms out to the side, 90 degrees with your torso. And roll your head to see, oh, are my palms face up or my palms face down? What did I do? And are they at 90 degrees? And when you rolled your head, did your arms move? Not because you moved them, but because the rolling of your head rippled through your spine and spoke to your spheres. Or did you tune out? I don't live there, out to pasture. I don't let them move. Now slowly, keep your arms where they are. Bring your feet to stand. You have two variations here you can play with. One is you can draw your knees over your chest and begin to bring your knees from over your chest to roll to lie on the right side. Then let the top knee lift towards the ceiling. When does the bottom knee come along? And keep the knees from the ceiling now rolling over to the left side. That's it. And then just keep your arms out to the side 90 degrees and take your knees, your pelvis from side to side and notice what your head is doing. And notice, does one arm get longer, the other one get drawn into you? And of course, you could either keep the head in the center, you could let the head roll in the direction the knees are going, or you could let the head roll in the opposite direction the knees are going. These are your choices. One will encourage, there's going to be a twist because of your arms. That's it. Just notice you have choice here. And then slowly bring your legs down, put your arms where you'd like them to be, and rest. Roll onto your belly. And make yourself comfortable. Where would you put your head? Where do you put your arms? Where you go, this is comfortable. Honor you. Now, bend your knees so that your forelegs and feet go in the air. And begin to tilt your feet, which means your knees, from side to side. Oh, there's another lesson here. It's still balancing flexors and extensors. And feel, is one side, it feels more congruent? The answer to that is, for each and every one, it depends. And what did your three spheres do? And now bring your hands into a push-up position so that you could lift your head like any baby to look forward. Where did you have to lean and press? And then as you tilt your knees from side to side, you could turn your head. Are you turning your head away from the direction the feet are tilting? As if you wanted to look over one shoulder, as if you could imagine seeing them? Or do you want to look towards the direction the feet are coming? What are your 3 spheres doing? And then if I said, is there one knee you feel you could de-weight from the floor so that that foot went more or less towards the ceiling, and then you could arc that foot over to the other side? Would it lead you to roll from your belly to your side to your back? Take your time, it's a process. Find your way. What do you do with one hand? Does it slide up or down? Did you come to sit or did you roll to your back? See, I'm making you problem solvers. There's a problem here. I'm on my belly. How do I get to my back? Well, you figured this out when you were an infant. What did you do with limbs? What happened to your spheres? And roll onto your back and rest. Now, legs long, resting. Feel your contact. Either rectangled arms or triangled arms, please bring them towards the ceiling. And legs are long again, there's the constraint. But now, what's different? Begin to use your arms, whether they are triangled arms or rectangled arms, to roll your upper torso from side to side. What's happening in your spheres? And if I said, how would you use these arms in such a way, listening to the rest of you, that you could actually roll yourself onto one side? When would your pelvis, the knees, everything understand, I use this to roll to my side? And then you could come back, and you could try to roll to the other side, as long as you have space in your room. That's it. How did the rest of you, your spheres, your spine, understand? I'm now not twisting. I start with the twist, and then I give that up to roll and change orientation. That's it. Good. And then come to your back and rest. Choice is so important. So I'm giving so many choices in this lesson because it's still in the same gestalt, the same theme. And find your way in where something feels easier. Then you can come back to which wasn't as easy, and maybe it got easier. How does that happen? Because we're honoring where something is first easy. We give up some of the work, and something else becomes available. Bring your feet to stand. Make either triangled arms or rectangled arms. And as you slowly take your arms to one side, take your knees to the other. And notice what your head wants to do. First, honor exactly what you notice your head wants to do. Which portion of your torso, upper or lower, are your head and eyes following? Then keep the movement going, but take your head and eyes in the opposite direction of whatever you chose. That's it. That's it. Just go slow so that you can coordinate your timing of your organization so that it's organized versus disorganized. You just slow it down. That's it. And then if you so choose, keep the arms going, but cross one knee over the other. Keep tilting the legs. Keep the twist going. That's it. Once you'll twist in the traditional pattern of the side of the knee that is being carried by the other leg, but we also have lessons where we also go to the opposite side. The standing foot collapses and you twist that way. It's different. What happened in your spine, in these spheres, the shape of you on the floor. And then you just compare what I'm doing with my head, my eyes. Oh, for those more advanced, remember, take your eyes in the opposite direction your head is going. It's a brain teaser. But the more advanced we get, this is how we start to really awaken differences and create a more malleable, flexible brain. And then go back to whatever feels the easiest and simplest. I like this. That's it. And then let that all go. Rest. Listen to what a lesson in multiple variations. The theme throughout was balancing flexors and extensors, which means it asked twisting. But with this awareness to, here are 3 spheres with a spine that keep me alive. Do I feel longer or fuller, or lighter or heavier? What do you notice? Whatever you notice is your experience of what the lesson offered you. And if what you learned was, I'm going to do less, I'm going to rest more, I really liked some of these patterns, and you start to create some other variations on the theme, because I see them happening, that's what this is about. You bring to it your own learning, and something awakens in our brain. Play with it. Slowly, feeling your contact, whether it's, oh, I want to oscillate, what's the difference, versus if I tilt the pelvis 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock, what's different? That's all we're paying attention to is differences. And then slowly, roll by way of one side, transition yourself to come stand. Take your time. When you come to stand, you first notice for you, but take your time. This was a bigger lesson. Let your nervous system settle. Maybe just standing to notice your contact or walking is enough. But if you feel childlike and you want to play with it, your feet are hip shoulder width apart, the knees can be soft, feet can pivot. I give reminders and begin to make windmills of your arms, slow. And then you can let it get faster, but you are in control. That becomes the dance, playful. We don't have to take ourselves so serious. We're just playing. Cool. This has been your lesson for today. Notice what it offered you.